In the heart of a quiet rural town, where golden fields swayed under the summer sun and life moved at a gentle pace, there was one place everyone avoided, the old farmhouse at the far edge of town. It belonged to Daniel, a man who kept mostly to himself. He was tall, weathered by the sun, with a face that gave away little. But it wasn't Daniel's silence that made people uneasy, it was what lived behind the tall, reinforced fence on his land. There, prowling with graceful yet intimidating movements, was Raju, a full-grown Bengal tiger. His orange and black coat shimmered in the sunlight, his amber eyes sharp and watchful. Parents would clutch their children's hands tighter when passing the road nearby. "One day, that beast will kill him," they'd whisper, warning their kids never to step near. No one knew exactly where the tiger came from. Some said Daniel bought him illegally. Others claimed he rescued it from somewhere far away. What everyone agreed on, however, was that it was unnatural, even reckless, for a man to live with such a predator. Daniel, unfazed by the rumors, spent his days tending to the farmhouse, feeding Raju fresh meat, and speaking to him in a low, steady voice. To him, Raju wasn't just an animal, he was family. But to the rest of the town, the sight of that powerful beast pacing inside the fence was a constant reminder of danger. They stayed away, unaware that one day, Raju would prove them all wrong. Late one August afternoon, the peaceful hum of the town was shattered by a sudden shift in the sky. Thick, black clouds rolled in faster than anyone expected, swallowing the sunlight. The air grew heavy, and within minutes, the wind began to howl through the cornfields like a restless spirit. Sheets of rain pelted the earth, turning dirt roads into slick streams. On the outskirts of town, a yellow school bus was making its way back from a field trip. The driver fought to see through the downpour, wipers working furiously against the torrents of water. Then, on a sharp bend near Daniel's property, the tires lost traction. The bus skidded sideways, the driver's desperate hands gripping the wheel, before it slid into a water-filled ditch with a sickening thud. Inside, panic erupted. Water began seeping through the doors and floor, rising frighteningly fast. Children cried, some clinging to each other, others banging on the fogged-up windows. A few townspeople braved the storm, running toward the wreck, but the flood-swollen ditch was a dangerous, churning trap. The current was too strong, and the muddy banks made every step treacherous. They shouted for help, but their voices were swallowed by the roar of the storm. From his porch, Daniel stood frozen for only a heartbeat. His eyes darted from the bus to the enclosure where Raju paced restlessly, sensing the danger. Daniel knew the others wouldn't dare, but he had no choice. The tiger had saved him once. Now, it might be the children's only hope. Rain hammered the tin roof of Daniel's porch as he sprinted toward Raju's enclosure. The tiger was already prowling near the gate, his ears flat, tail lashing, not in aggression, but in alertness. Daniel's hands trembled, not from fear of Raju, but from the enormity of what he was about to do. The shouts from the ditch grew more desperate. The bus was tilting slightly, and the water inside had reached the children's knees. One little girl pressed her palms against the window, her face pale with terror. Daniel unlatched the heavy lock and swung open the gate. Gasps and cries of alarm came from the townspeople standing nearby. "Are you insane?" someone shouted over the rain. But Daniel didn't answer. Raju stepped forward, his massive paws splashing into the muddy yard before leaping the short fence that separated Daniel's land from the roadside. He moved with an uncanny focus, ignoring the frightened voices, his eyes fixed on the bus. Without hesitation, Raju plunged into the ditch. The cold, rushing water didn't slow him. He reached the bus and positioned himself alongside the emergency exit, chuffing softly as if to calm the children. One by one, Daniel guided the terrified kids out of the bus window, placing them carefully onto Raju's broad back. The tiger swam powerfully toward the bank, where waiting arms pulled the children to safety. Each trip back, Raju fought the current with steady determination. He wasn't just rescuing them, he was shielding them from the very danger the town had always feared him to be. The storm raged on, lightning splitting the sky as Raju returned from his third trip. Nearly all the children were safe now, huddled under blankets brought by neighbors. But Daniel's eyes swept the bus and froze. One boy was still inside. He was wedged between two seats, his small foot trapped beneath twisted metal. The bus had shifted deeper into the ditch, water now waist-high inside. The driver, exhausted and shivering, tried pulling at the seat, but it wouldn't budge. Daniel waded into the icy water, his breath catching as the current fought to drag him down. "Hold on, buddy," he called to the boy, forcing a calmness into his voice. He yanked at the bent frame, but the metal was stubborn, unyielding. Then Raju leapt back into the water beside him, the force of his landing sending waves across the bus. The tiger's massive head pushed past Daniel, teeth clamping onto the seat frame, not in aggression, but with a firm, deliberate grip. With a guttural growl, Raju pulled backward, muscles rippling under his soaked fur. The metal gave way with a screech. Daniel scooped the boy into his arms and signaled for Raju to swim ahead, the tiger breaking the current for them. As they reached the bank, cheers erupted. The boy was wrapped in a blanket, crying into Daniel's shoulder. Raju stood nearby, water streaming off his coat, his golden eyes scanning the crowd, not seeking praise, only making sure every child was safe. The storm passed by morning, leaving the town soaked and silent except for the hum of cleanup efforts. The rescued children, wrapped in dry clothes, played in the town square under the watchful eyes of grateful parents. But the day's talk wasn't about the weather, it was about the man and the tiger. For years, people had whispered warnings, painting Raju as a ticking time bomb. Now, the same townsfolk approached Daniel with hesitant smiles, offering handshakes and heartfelt thanks. Children tugged at their parents' sleeves, asking if they could see the hero tiger again. Standing near the square's old oak tree, Daniel finally spoke about the truth no one had asked to hear before. Years ago, while traveling overseas, he had stumbled upon an illegal circus where animals were starved and beaten. Among them was a young tiger cub, barely clinging to life. Daniel had paid everything he had to rescue it and brought it home. "I saved him once," Daniel said, his voice steady, "but in truth, he's been saving me ever since." Raju, resting calmly in a makeshift pen nearby, lifted his head at the sound of Daniel's voice. His amber eyes met Daniel's, and in that moment, the crowd saw not a beast, but a bond. From that day forward, Raju wasn't the town's feared predator. He was their silent guardian, a living reminder that trust, once earned, can turn fear into love, and that sometimes, the most dangerous creatures are the ones who protect us most fiercely.